Yeah, hi. So, as discussed in the previous video, that for calories we will have an object which will have a value for the calorie and a unit. So the value field can be of a number and of type number, and the other field which will be a unit field, which it will basically reference to the unit schema. So let's quickly write this field now. Because it's an object, we'll create it here and then reference it in our recipe document. So I'll just name it as calories info. Okay, and okay, so in the title will be calories. This will be adding this field in the recipe schema. The name is calories info, and the type is not document, it will be object, because we will be embedding this in a document schema. So we'll keep it as object, because if we make a document, then this will be available in Sanity Studio, and that's not what we want. And the fields. Okay, so one field is of the value that is the calorie, how much calorie, the value, and the other field will be for unit. So we'll keep it as with a capital V, and the type is of number. If we go to the schema types, over here we can see yeah, we have a schema type as number, so that's what we are using it here. Okay, so I think this is fine for this field for the value. Now the other field is going to be for the unit, and the title will be unit. Now the type, because now we are going to reference this field to the unit document, unit schema, sorry. So this will be as reference. Now what are we referring to? It will be reference to type unit. So over here what we're doing is we are referring this field to type unit, and now this field will show us all the values that we have already added, or if we add in the unit schema. So this we have created this calories info object. In order to use it in recipe, we have to add it in the schema. I'll just separate out the objects. This is for calories info from calories info, and we'll just add it in here. Now if we go back to the recipe schema, over there we just have to add this field over there. So it will be, name is calories. Okay, once again, name is calories, type is calories info, and the title is with capital C, calories. Okay, so this is fine. We'll just go back to, yeah, our studio is running. We'll just go back to Sanity Studio, and we'll see, yeah, so we can see that the calories is basically an object where we can, it's a number, we can't we can't enter the alphabets. E we can run because it has a different meaning. Yeah, so maybe we can put some value, maybe 78, and then whatever unit we want to use for calories. So of course we'll not be using this, so let's add kilocalorie or something, and calorie. I'll just go back, and you can see Now over here you can see that we can add only one unit, because that is correct. We should not be able to add more than one. We can just replace whenever we have added. If we want to change it to something else, so we'll just replace it on here. Yeah, now one thing is that if you clear it, you can see we have one button, create new. So let's say if we don't want, like if we click on this, it will take us to the unit schema where we can actually create a new document, and once we create it, will get added here. If we don't want anything like that, so we can disable this thing. We can disable this button. If we go back to the calories info, and in this we have to add an options over here. Yeah, over here we have to give the option for disable. Yeah, that is for creating a new unit, a new reference document. If you want to disable it, so we can pass disable new as true. And if we go back now, so over here you can see that we cannot create new. We just have to select whatever is available. If you want to create new, you have to go back to unit schema and create a new document. So this looks fine. This is exactly what we wanted. So let's go back and see what next we have to do is preparation in minutes. Like every recipe needs, I mean, these are like, this is the basic structure of any recipe that we see over the internet. People want to know in how much time can I prepare this recipe. So we'll quickly add, this should be a very simple field. We'll give that this as a number. So if I go back to recipe, I mean the recipe schema, we'll just add the name as preparation in minutes. Title, again preparation time in minutes, something like that. And the type, we'll keep it as number. So this is fine. Next is servings. So the many recipes that we'll see over the internet, it is not for just one person to eat. It is for like maybe 4 servings, 5 servings, 10 servings. So that also we can, that is very important, because anyone who will be cooking this recipe should know that how many people are going to, it will serve how many people, so that they can put the ingredients proportionally. So we'll name this as servings. I think I copied, yeah, servings. The title again is this servings, and the type, we'll keep it again as number. Okay, so this is fine. And is veg, yeah. So now many people want to know whether the recipe has any non-veg ingredient. So we can make this field as boolean. So we'll go to the recipe over here. We'll name this field as I think I copied it as veg. Title, we can keep it as vegetarian recipe. And the type, now the type will be, if we come here in the Sanity schema, so you can see we have a schema type as boolean. So I think this will serve our purpose if we use a boolean type. And in this we can see the layout. So the default layout is a switch, and so let's see, but you can also make it appear as a checkbox. So we can so only 2 options we have. One is switch and the other one is a checkbox. So we'll just first see what we get as default. So we have made this type as boolean, and if we go back, so over here you can see preparation time, and both are numbers. Now this is vegetarian recipe, is it's a switch. Now if we want to change it, so again we saw in the documentation it has to go in the options, for the layout property. So we'll go in the options and we'll see how the checkbox will look like. So layout, because the default is a switch, so I'll go with layout checkbox and see what we get. Okay, so we see a checkbox here, so it's okay. If it's a vegetarian recipe, we'll just mark it as we'll just check it. So we'll get in the query response, we'll get is veg. Yeah, this is veg will be true or false. Fine, so this looks fine. So next is the image of the recipe. So over here, because we have already created one object for image, so we can just reuse it, and you'll see how quick it will be, because we have already created that object. So if I come here and we'll create a new field, and the name of this field is, let's say, image, and title we can keep as a recipe image. Now the type, now all we have to do is we just have to give the name of this custom object that we created, this object we created as custom image. So custom image, that's it. Now if we go back to Sanity Studio, you can see because we already created this object, we have a recipe image. Now if I upload, this is, let's say, my final image of the recipe. So we have it something here, and we can name it. I forgot the name. It was some dish, so I'll just name it some dish. Okay, so this looks fine till now. What other things we want is the source URL. So we have to give credit to the people who actually wrote this recipe. So that is why I thought we'll have a source URL as well, a field for source URL. So over here I'll quickly go and add another field, name maybe source URL. You can see that you can see that I'm not giving any spaces here, because this field, name field, will be returned in our JSON response. So these are the fields. Whatever is in name will be returned in the JSON response. And the title, we'll keep it as a source URL, and the type will be URL. Yeah, so let's quickly see this type. If I come here in the URL, so you can see the Sanity does provide us type as URL. You can see the benefit of using proper types is you can use validations. So this is fine. Yeah, so we are good. Now if we go back to the so we have one is meal type and the other is cuisine. The ingredients will add in the end. So let me quickly add the meal type and the cuisine. So we'll start with cuisine. So there's cuisine, and title is cuisine, then type. Now it's we will be referring this from recipe, we will be referring to cuisine document, so it is a reference, and a reference to type, that is cuisine. So this is fine. If I go and I check, so this is fine. We are able to refer to the cuisine, and the next is it was meal type. Yeah, so cuisine is done, meal type. So if I go here and add a new field, name is meal type, title is meal type, and the type. Now over here the meal type is what we have in meal type is lunch. I'll just first comment it before I just explain what we're going to do. So the meal type, you can see, we'll just remove this. Maybe I'll just edit this. We don't have breakfast, and this one I'll edit this to maybe snack. So the meal type is like lunch, breakfast, dinner, snack. Now a recipe that we are adding can be a part of dinner or lunch, or can be a part of both. So we can't just have one value over here in the recipe like we are doing for cuisine. So in the cuisine, you can see we cannot have more than one value. If I choose one, maybe Middle Eastern, so I don't have any other way. I can just replace it, or I can clear it, but I can't add another one. So how do we do that, where we can add multiple values from a reference? So that's what we'll be doing. This is going to be meal type of type reference. So it has to be object. So it is going to be the meal type is going to be an array of objects, and that object is going to be of type reference, and the type reference, and that is we are referring to. This is the old, like we used to do. We'll be referring to meal type. Meal type. So in this I have I forgot to add. So we are basically creating an array, because when we will query, so we'll see in the last video which I'll create, that in that we will be running a query to see if we are getting the data as we expect. So meal type will be an array, because we need multiple values for a meal type. It could be lunch, dinner, or lunch, dinner, both. So that is why the type has to be array. If we go here, we can see there is in fact a schema type as array, and basically this is what we can do. Over here you can see for op allowed, types are allowed as members, and one interesting thing is the sortable. So if I go here and if I add, like I can add maybe this recipe is suited for lunch as well as a dinner. So now we can actually sort it. If you can hold it here and you can put it, you can just put it, sort it. So in the options we can give a value for sorting, maybe false, because it defaults to 2, so we can do the sorting. This is for the edit. I think this is available for many other schema types. If we want to edit, it will give us a model. Then it has validations, pretty much like other validations that we saw. It's quite the same. So if I go back and maybe if we quickly just see for the options to disable sorting, but it's not required. I'll just see. It was sortable, I think. Sortable is false, and if we go back, so you can see we can't sort it. It has been disabled. Fine. So this is I think we have included all the fields except ingredients. Now ingredients is going to be a little different. We will see how we can, because in ingredient we just don't have to mention the ingredient. We have to give the unit for each ingredient, the quantity and unit, how much ingredient has to go for for each recipe. We should have, let's say we have 10 ingredients, so let's say we have basil, so we will be giving the name, image, caption and everything for basil. But again we need the quantity, how much, 5, let's say 5 leaves, so the quantity is 5, unit is leaves. So that is an object that we'll have to create, which we will be referencing in our recipe schema. So we'll see that in the next video, how we can build this object.